The Weekly Wrap is the week in news and what's coming up. I'm Claire Kimball.
And I'm Jodie Spears. We couldn't not mention this week. I'm talking, of course, about French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte and the video of their arrival in Vietnam.
We'll have to put a link, I guess, in the episode notes to that video. If you didn't see it, you'll probably want to have a look at it. But to describe it, she's largely obscured from view. Only her hands are visible on her husband's face. He appears startled, but quickly composes himself and then waves to the cameras.
It was strange, wasn't it? It was that particular moment when he could see that the cameras were on him, I think, that added to this. The Élysée Palace, Macron's team, initially claimed that this video was a deep fake. I think they realised then that wasn't going to wash. So then they said that it was a moment in which the president and his wife were unwinding by goofing about one last time before the start of this overseas trip. And Macron said it was just a squabble and they were joking about, as they do.
I saw an article, though, I think it was in one of the London tabloids. They had a lip reader's take on what they were actually
the lip reader's take
to each other. So look, take this with a grain of salt, but certainly this is what the interpretation was. So after he was shoved, he waves to the cameras and he says to her, "Let's go." They take a step onto the stairs off the plane and he offers her his arm. She ignores it and says, "Stay away, you loser."
I need to know the French for that.
And then he says, "Let's try, please."
And she responds, "No." So that was enough to go viral globally. I had to check out the French newspapers when I saw this story because I'm a bit of a Francophile, Claire. I've studied in France a couple of times and I love the country but also find the culture quite different to ours. So I had a look at Le Monde, which is kind of like the Herald or the Guardian, that sort of equivalent. And I couldn't really find it certainly wasn't splashed across the website as you would expect with something like this. I found it. It was a very matter-of-fact story about Macron's explanation. But I was looking for the analysis and it wasn't there. The French newspapers also didn't even have this on their front page the next morning. So the reaction was the next thing that we needed to decipher. And I think the takeaway is that there remains this clear cultural divide between France and then the English-speaking world.
Yeah, and the Anglosphere got very focused very quickly on quite serious questions about respect and violence and also this new examination of how the Macron's relationship started in the first place. Of course, just to remind you, he was 15 and Brigitte was his 39-year-old theatre teacher when they met.
Yeah, pretty unusual start to a relationship. Just to explain the French media's reaction or lack thereof to this incident, French political journalists have long applied what's known as the bedroom rule to their coverage. So what happens in the bedroom stays in the bedroom. It's private and therefore it's not seen as newsworthy. We've seen some of these debates play out here as well, but it's slightly different over there.
Yeah, of course, this was on a plane rather than their bedroom. However, it's just about their relationship and they just don't go there. Fascinating to see how they dealt with this episode. So the French media just immediately accepted Macron's sort of "this was just a squabble, we were goofing around" explanation. It very quickly fell out of the headlines. But there has been some reflection of the younger journalists in France who are very keen to probe a little bit more around the private lives of public figures.
Yeah, and remember we talked a couple of weeks ago about the actor Gérard Depardieu and his conviction on sexual assault charges and what locals were saying that it meant for things like the Me Too movement, which is seen as being a little bit behind in France. Anyway, maybe some attitudes are changing.